If you want great tone, tolerable volume, and a clean look, all for an excellent price, then the MBRP Armor Plus single side exit exhaust is going to be the perfect fit for your 2016 to 2023 3.5 liter power Tacoma. This is a perfect choice for a daily driven truck, and it gives the Tacoma just the right amount of attitude without going overboard. Accordingly, we're going to give this a 3 out of 5 on our loudness meter. It's not super loud, it is noticeable, and it sounds quite a bit better than your stock setup. Now, it is no secret around these parts that I like MBRP exhausts quite a bit. And if you've been shopping around, you'll know that you'll be hard pressed to find a better value for your money, especially considering what you get in this one. This is a full catback, so it does retain your stock catalytic converters. And as you heard from the clips at the beginning of the video, this one does err a bit more on the side of subtlety than some other exhausts, which makes sense. This is MBRP's street profile. This is definitely a definitive change over stock, especially considering that in stock form, these trucks don't make much exhaust noise at all. You get a much deeper tone and you get a little bit of grittiness to it. It's surprisingly deep and characterful, and it really starts to scream a bit more as you rev it out. Though it doesn't produce enough noise to whip your neighbors into a frenzy, it will still definitely get your truck noticed. Now inside, of course, you can expect more volume than stock, but it's still not obtrusive. You get a nice rumble when you're out cruising around and a bit more wail when you bury the pedal. Makes this a great option for a truck that sees daily driver use or a lot of miles in general. It's got a nice sound when you're running up through the gears, but when you settle into a cruise, it mellows out quite a bit, so you really get kind of the best of both worlds. You also aren't going to have to deal with drone issues like you do with some other more budget-friendly systems, and that's thanks in most small part to this big canister-style muffler. Now, there's a good amount of baffling inside of this to keep things a little bit more subdued and stave off that pesky drone. Now at the back end, you get a large 4-inch polished tip with a rolled end on it. This is going to exit in the same location as your stock exhaust, so it's a bit more subtle to look at than some of the others out on the market. However, the eagle-eyed folk out there will spot this right away, and even if they don't, they're certainly going to know you've got something going on with your truck once you fire it up. Now this is a full catback setup, and it's made from 3-inch mandrel bent T409 grade stainless steel. So this is going to provide you some really solid protection from the elements and help stave off corrosion. But it's not going to cost quite as much as a comparable T304 stainless setup. And that leads us to perhaps what is the best part, and that is the price. Coming in at around $500, that makes this one of the more affordable options on the market for these trucks. This one far undercuts most of the others, especially T304 stainless options, and even a lot of other 409 grade stainless options. And it's also going to sound better than most of the others on the market too. So for your dollars, you're getting a really solid, great sounding, and good looking exhaust. Installation gets a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and the job should take you around 2 hours to complete. Now this is a totally bolt-on system. It's going to utilize all your factory exhaust hanger locations, so you don't need to modify anything on your truck to get it fitted. However, I will say there is one caveat. Depending on your cab and bed size, you may need to make just one cut to this extension pipe right here in order to get this new exhaust to fit properly. MBRP does include instructions calling out exactly which trucks need how much cut from this pipe, if any, and we're going to talk a bit more about that in the install process too. So with that said, let's head on out to the shop and we're going to walk you through everything step by step.
Tools required for this install include an impact gun, an exhaust hanger remover tool, an extension, a marker, tape measure, 8mm Allen socket, 14mm swivel socket, and a 15mm socket. What's up guys? Today we're installing an exhaust on our Tacoma, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is come right in front of our muffler. We've got one hanger that we're going to pop off with a exhaust hanger remover tool, and then we'll take a 14mm swivel socket to remove the 2 bolts in our flange. Next, I'm going to come back to the tip and remove our hanger right before it. Now, the 2 hangers behind the muffler we're going to get last, because when you disconnect one of those, the whole exhaust likes to swing down at you. So I'm going to grab a buddy before I pull those off. So now I've got my buddy here supporting the exhaust so it doesn't swing down on me. And I'm just going to undo these last 2 hangers. And now we can pull this towards the front of the car and remove it. Now before we start installing our new exhaust, it is important to note that you may or may not need to cut the front pipe depending on your truck configuration. If you have the double cab with the long box, you're going to be using this whole pipe. For the double cab with the short box, you're going to be cutting this to 20 1/8 inch. So I've got my tape measure here. We are going to have to cut our pipe. So we're going to measure from this flange back to 20 1/8 inch. And then I'm just going to take a marker and make a mark there. And then we can take this over to the saw and make our cut. So now we're over at the saw. I got my pipe all lined up with my mark, and we can go ahead and make our cut. And now I'm coming over to the grinder, and we're just gonna clean up the edges of our cut. So now we can go ahead and install our front pipe onto our flange. Now if your exhaust gasket's all crusty like this one, I would recommend replacing that. I don't want to have one available to me that I can throw in right now, so I'm going to leave that one. Now the bend's going to go up, so slide that into place and then grab your 2 factory bolts that we removed. Thread those in. And then take that 14mm swivel socket and tighten those down. Now next we're going to install our muffler. So we're going to have to get our hanger set up here. So this is the setup we've got going on. You're going to pinch this clamp together and slide that hole over the nut. Now that's what you're going to want right there. You want the nut in that smaller slot there. So then I'm just going to slide that into our isolator. And then you can grab your muffler, slide it over your front pipe. We'll pull this hanger the rest of the way in, so we can get it lined up with the edge of our muffler. And then just get your muffler straightened out and take a 15mm socket to tighten down your clamp. Next we're going to install our over axle pipe. So we're going to start off by sliding our other clamp onto our muffler. And then from the front of the car we're going to go over the axle here. Get your pipe lined up, and then we're going to be going into those hangers right above. Now before we tighten down our over axle pipe, I'm going to pop this hanger off. Since our rods are facing opposite directions, it's going to be impossible to get that on without removing this hanger. So just grab your exhaust hanger remover tool, pop that off. And then we're going to slide that onto our rod first. Raise it up and connect it to our rods connected to the frame. Push that on all the way, and then we can go back to our muffler outlet. So now back at our muffler outlet, we're just going to slide our clamp into place at the edge of the pipe and tighten it down with our 15mm socket. And now we're just down to the tip here. Slide that on, and then you can adjust this to have as much or as little poke as you'd like. If you want it pretty flush with the body, you can leave it there. I'm going to put that right about there, and then take an 8mm Allen socket and tighten that down. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the MBRP Armor Plus single exhaust system with polished tip and side exit for your 2016 to 23 3.5 liter Tacoma. Thank you for watching, and for all things Tacoma, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.